right, welcome back into Church Boys Podcast. This is episode 9. Again, here with Dejan, and we have a very special guest. Her name is Shanika.
Hello.
And we are super grateful that she's able to join us here for episode 9. This is going to be relationships part 2.
Part 2. We promised part 2.
We did promise part 2, and we also promised y'all that we were going to bring a woman on. So we went and found a mighty woman of God. So we are extremely grateful that she was able to join us here today on this episode.
First and foremost, Miss Shanika, tell the people where you originally from and just how you came to know God.
Okay. Well, originally I was born in Savannah, Georgia, but raised in Detroit. And I just recently moved to Louisville 4 years ago and got to Louisville based off of a bad relationship. Right. And it's so important that I've learned in these 4 years the importance of listening to God's voice concerning his plan.
Yeah.
Because marriage is God's plan.
Absolutely.
Right. And we just honored to walk out and live God's plan out loud. And so I took it upon myself while I was in Detroit to help God with his plan. And anytime you help God with his plan,
It don't work out.
it don't work out.
It don't work
It
out.
don't work out.
It's never going to work out.
It don't work out. But, you know, I'm grateful and I'm honored that God didn't give up on me and leave me in that.
Right.
And so I got out.
That's good.
I was able to get out. And so I'm here.
Yeah. And I'm sure in the beginning of that it was probably tough, but, you know, God's grace is everything. So I'm glad that you were able to get out of that situation and God was able to help you with that for sure.
Well, we are excited to have you.
Absolutely.
I know you mentioned you tried to make God's plan or fit God or your plan into God's plan. Can you talk a little bit about what kind of led you to that, or what kind of decisions you made that ultimately, now hindsight's always 20/20, where you know it's like, yeah, I tried to make this happen on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. And so like any woman or man that desires companionship, right?
Yeah.
They have this list. We're always told, you know, create this list of someone that you want. What do they look like? What do they sound like? Like what type of desires or aspirations do you see yourself wanting in a relationship? And also, what do you see yourself giving in that relationship? And at the time, y'all, I was at my highest peak in my career. I was making over 6 figures, right? I didn't have any children. I'm climbing the ladder in my organization. And so, of course, I want someone to align with
be
what
there
I'm
with
doing.
you.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And so I was real strategic about my next relationship during that time. I said, you know what? I don't want nobody with kids. I don't have kids. I want someone that's career driven and focused, because I was so career driven and focused, and I thought in my mind that only someone who worked as hard as me would understand what hard work looked like.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And so not only that, I said I wanted somebody who was a believer in Christ. I wanted someone who was respectful and fine, right? Fine by appearance.
Yeah.
Because I said I want to be attracted to him. Come on, we got to be real. Sometimes, like, you know, personality it comes after I look at you, you know. But that was my list, and I thought it was a good list, and I got the list. I got everything on that list. However, I didn't ask God, what did he want from me?
Yeah.
Right? Because the reality of it is that I was looking for someone for my now. But God was telling me, I am bringing you someone for the person you're becoming, not just for your now.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that until I got here. I didn't understand that till after the heartbreak. I didn't understand that until the move and the shift, because I was like, God, why would you even allow me? Why would you allow me to be introduced to it if you was going to allow me to go through all of that?
Yeah.
And he told me the heart wants what the heart wants. It does. That's why he said there's no good thing in it.
Yeah.
And so he allowed me literally to date it, to be engaged to it, to live with it, only to snatch it from me, because he wanted, one, to teach me a lesson, but also to create a testimony for me.
Yeah.
Because in church, I felt like I didn't have a true testimony. I was young. I had not been through anything seriously. And I was like, I want a testimony like Sister So-and-so. I want to go through some things. And God was like, that's not authentic. I'm going to give you something that identifies with you, but not just you, but everybody that I'm connecting you to. Right? And so I didn't understand why I had all these women coming around me that were dealing with verbal abuse and physical abuse in their relationship, and then I get into it, and I'm like, "Oh, this is why.
This is why.
This is why." And so that's my plan versus God's plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, looking back on it, were there any like telltale signs of God speaking to you and kind of informing you to letting you know, like, hold up now, pump your brakes, pimp, or anything like that, or was it something that you felt like, God let you hit head on first because of maybe the back end experience that you would provide for other people, or the testimony you provide?
Yeah, there were so many red flags, so many red flags. But being in ministry and growing up in church, there's this under silo that's taught that no one's perfect, right? And give grace. And I had been told, even as I was getting and growing in ministry and in my career, I was told that, Shanika, you too picky. You ain't nobody gonna be perfect, and maybe everybody might not meet all your goals, and so you're gonna have to give a little and take a little, right? And so even the red flags I saw, I just think women and I don't know, I can't speak from a man's perspective, but women always feel like they have everything that they need to help the man do what they need to
fix
do.
him.
Well, I had a fixer upper spirit. It was like, we can
work
do
with that.
We can get them. Like, it was crazy because I remember one of the first questions, which was a complete red flag, was, "Hey, do you go to church?" Right? That was not the right question I should have asked. Because he was like, "Yeah, I go to church."
Right.
I should have asked, "Hey, do you have a relationship with Jesus Christ?" Right? Because going to church was not a sufficient question, nor did I create a space for him to answer appropriately for me to understand that was a red flag. Because him going to church was never the true answer to say that he was a believer of Christ, because I found out that he wasn't once we got in a relationship. And there I was, being a fixer-upper, saying, I've led so many people to salvation. Clearly, I can lead him. I can lead him.
And it's good that you say that too, because just asking if somebody's a Christian is such a surface question.
It is.
And that can mean a numerous amount of things. People are like, "You're a Christian?" "Yeah, I'm a Christian." But as far as like, we think the person who's asking the question, they go to church, they be like, "God, this and that." But like you said, like in their mind, they're like, "Yeah, I go to church, but I just go to church just to go to church." I don't believe in God. I don't really believe God is, he died on the cross for us and stuff like that. So that's definitely because we've even talked about that in the first episode. Like, you have to go in depth with those kind of questions.
Absolutely.
To really understand the other person, because you don't want to just get with just anybody. You want to make sure that, like you said, you guys are on one accord. You guys want to go on the same path. So I can definitely see how.
So for going back on some of the things you said, I just want to dig a little deeper on them. You mentioned the red flags that you didn't really. There were so many that you didn't really look for. What are some red flags that women should be looking for or pay attention to in men?
Oh, that's really good. So some of the red flags that you should definitely be paying attention to is
outside the obvious.
Outside of the obvious. Definitely the one thing that you really want to pay attention to is their relationship with Christ, right? Do they have a prayer life? And that's so essential. And I want to say that's the very, very first thing, is because a man could never love you if he does not love Christ. If he does not read his word, it's impossible for him to love you the way that God has ordained for him to love you. And I think it's so essential to understand this. And I was just telling a group of ladies this, is that when God created woman, he created her to be a wife. It never talks about in the word of God a man being a husband before he is married to a wife. It always tells the woman that she has the position to posture the man that she has chosen, or the man that God has led her to, position him into that. position
Yeah.
as a husband. He can't be a husband without a wife.
Without a wife.
And so in order for us to really lean into relationships and want to go into that next level of intimacy and want to walk into that plan of God and purpose for marriage, we have to have a keen notion of knowing that this is a man who prays to Jesus Christ. This is a man who reads his word, because only a man that reads his word would only know how to treat me. He would only know how to be selfless, because that's what God commands. He would only know how to love me like he loves himself, because that's God's word. He would only know how to keep his parents out our business, because it says a man should leave his mother and his father and cleave to his wife.
cleave to his
Only
wife,
a man,
yeah. Only a man.
that reads his word will know how to treat a woman in that respect. So that's the very, if they don't read their word. See, my problem was I went and bought my ex-fiance a Bible. I put his name on it. In our first argument, he threw the Bible out the window.
Wow.
That's OD.
Tore it up,
That's crazy,
ripped it up, recorded it,
Wow.
and sent it to me.
That's crazy.
Wow.
It was crazy. Wasn't it crazy?
Yeah.
That was, I should have left then, right? But I ain't leave it. I was like, oh, we can work on that.
But I'm saying, when you in love, you kind of like lose, like you almost lost in love.
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah.
stuff like this happens, you so the love overshadows the things that
you can get blinded real
that
easily.
you usually would pick up on and kind of walk away from. That's the T-shirt,
Yeah.
by the way, that I showed you. That's what that means. So
Yeah.
I understand kind of where you at with that. Are there any other flags that people should pick up on? If not, if do you have any before I go on to the next question?
But I do want to share something on what you just said, because you said love sometimes overshadows the sight, but that's not love, right? Some of it's immaturity, some of it's stupidity, because love is patient.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's kind. It's long suffering. It does not abuse.
It's unconditional.
It's not ego driven.
Yeah.
It's not pride driven. And sometimes the way of life has taught us that, oh, love looks like staying when you should leave, or love looks like persevering in the midst of mess. That's not love. That's ignorance, right? I was ignorant, and like you had said a word. You said you had said something along the lines of it being on the surface.
Yeah.
My list was so surface.
Yeah.
That's a red flag. If I can't see beyond what I see, you don't need to be there. Like if I can't see your heart, if I can't see the intentionality behind what you say, like that's what it was. I was such a surface person. It was all about what I saw and what you were doing on the outside. I didn't even care what was going on the
heart,
inside.
yeah.
I didn't care. I didn't care that you was hurting. I didn't care that you dealt with rejection. I didn't
Right.
care that, you had feelings too. Like that's just how I was. And that's just a true statement. And I really had to learn how to love people despite what I saw on the outside.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does that play a part? So I'm gonna hit on that real quick.
Yeah.
You mentioned I didn't know you dealt with rejection and all these things. How does that someone's past? How does that play a part in deciding if you want to pursue something with them or not? And what are some questions you can ask to kind of figure that out on the first date?
Okay. So I feel like everybody in their life has dealt with some form of rejection.
All right.
Or just not even specifically rejection, just different things that may have happened in your life that make you who you are today. Because ultimately, that's going to bleed into your relationship.
Right.
Like it's not something that's not you can't hide. People show you their true colors.
Yeah, like we've talked about like growing up, the way we lived, like the way our family raised us. We've struggled with communication because we didn't grow up in like a household where everybody communicated their feelings, and we just kind of told like just do what I say and just keep it pushing, that kind of thing. So I think that I don't know,
rejection can be one of them. I'm just saying.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are some questions you can ask on a first date?
Yes.
To
And-
help you.
But the first one, I'm gonna split it up.
Okay.
First question being, how does that play a role in deciding if you want to continue something intimately with someone? How does that play a role now in your life?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I am 36. I'll be 37 next month. I know I made it. And so rejection now, for someone who may be battling rejection now, that plays a major role in us moving forward in a relationship, solely because I feel like there's a self-work that needs to be done before I can enter into your life. I feel like there's some things that you need to identify and you need to work on that you don't leave it up to your spouse to try to fix.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you allow that to come into your relationship and you're expecting someone to be your mom, you're expecting them to fill the gaps and voids of those that rejected you, I would never be able to amount up to it.
Yeah.
And the moment that I fall short, because I will, then I will be held hostage or
Hold it
held
against me.
accountable for the rejection that took place from that person that did that to you.
Yeah.
And so I believe that there has to be a self-work that goes on personally before you even enter into a relationship. And I can identify if that self-work has been done because I ask questions like, how do you deal with conflict resolution?
See, those are
Right.
good questions. So we'll go into the second question. What are some not so obvious questions? So I was in California, in LA, and they did a singles series where they helped, like a couple of married folk did a panel, and they try to help, single folk to get to a place to where they're good for dating, or just give them advice, give them game. And there was one lady, God bless her soul. She came up there and she was, granted, she was from another country, so cultural differences. She was very aggressive with being direct and saying, on the first date, do you know your purpose? I'm like, I would never ask, as aggressive as she was, I would never ask somebody like, do you believe in Jesus? Do you know your purpose? It's like, am I at a date or an interview? Like, what is it now?
Both.
Right.
Man.
But it is.
It is.
But it shouldn't be so, like,
Aggressive.
for women, aggressive and direct, because it's like, okay, what if I was? And
Yeah.
I don't feel like I need to tell you. What are some ways that you can be strategic in asking questions to still get the answers that you're looking for?
Well, it's a flow, right? When you get to know, I've dated all kind of men, and I'm not saying I just be out here dating people, but I've had an opportunity to date different types.
Define date though. I know you don't mean like you go out, you have the conversations, right? I assume that's what you mean.
No, that's what I mean.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
You date. You
Yeah,
go
you
out
date,
to
you
eat.
date.
You have a conversation. You get to know.
To clarify, in my head, dating means something different than
So
going.
does dating mean having a relationship?
Kind of, yeah.
No. That's a relationship.
Yeah.
Dating is just what it is. We go out on a date. I get to know you. We ask questions, and
Right,
we
right,
see
right.
if we should move forward in the relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm not. I don't.
I just want to clarify.
And then you got to continue dating in the relationship.
Yeah.
But no, when I say I've dated, someone has asked me for my number. They said, hey, can we do dinner or can we do lunch?
Right.
And, I've done some research a little bit, like, hold on, wait, based off of maybe, because I don't have random people that I've never, ever met before ask me on a date, believe it or not. Usually people that want to date me, they go through somebody else.
To get to you.
They've asked a few questions.
Yeah.
I like that they go through somebody else to get to me. Asked about me first.
Yeah.
So that you can know a few things before you come over here.
Before you come to me,
Before you come over here. Because it's going to be consistent across the board. She's not getting ready to play with you.
Yeah.
Especially in these past 4 years. She's really not getting ready to play with you.
Ain't wasting no
if
time.
you not dating to get married.
You're not about to waste
Don't
my
even
time.
stay
Go talk
away.
to Keisha up
Yeah,
the street.
for
okay?
sure.
Not going to happen. Okay? But so dating to me is just that. You meet someone, you guys have questions, you go out to eat or go do coffee or tea. You guys get to know each other and you make a decision based off of that, a couple dates, a few dates.
Yeah.
If hey, this is something I want to move forward in.
Yeah.
you
So
know?
what are some questions?
So some
questions.
So you know what? It's really, you want it to be organic, right? Because sometimes it's all fluff at the beginning. It's what's your favorite color?
Everybody's
We do
nervous.
for fun.
Trying to break the ice kind of
trying
stuff.
to break your
Yeah.
ice. And so I'm a pretty direct person though, right? So I am. So I'll be like, so what how many relationships have you been in? What's your 5-year goals? I do ask questions like
valid.
that.
Let's get right to it.
Yeah, because I'm 36 years old.
Yeah,
so
for
I
sure.
really don't have time to ask you your favorite color. My favorite color change every year. It just depends on my mood.
Yeah.
So, I'm asking questions. How many kids do you have? And do you plan to have more? Because I ask all the questions that I need to move forward in my relationship with the husband. Do you desire to have more children if you have children?
Yeah.
Right? How active are you in the church? Do you have a church home? Right? Like, where do you fellowship? Right? I might say, hey, where are you fellowship at? Because
Yeah.
clearly you know I fellowship.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know I go to
Yeah,
church.
you gonna know.
Okay,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
active.
Yeah.
You gonna know that. So I want to know if you active in church, because I need to be with somebody who understands what it means to come to church on a Saturday at 12:30,
Yeah.
or to be at Bible study every Tuesday to teach the youth, or to show up on a Friday night for Kingdom Women,
Yeah.
right? And if you don't understand ministry, it's impossible for you to date me.
Yeah.
Because I don't need nobody. You always at church? Yes, I
Yes,
am.
yes, I am.
Yeah, I'm
You
there
should
on
be
an
too.
as-need
Yeah.
basis.
Yeah.
And so I can't be with somebody who doesn't understand that. And so I ask questions that pertain to my life.
Yeah.
Right? Do you work? Where? yeah. Where do you work?
Yeah.
You know?
What you got going
What do
on?
you do for fun? Do you
Yeah.
like to travel? Because
Yeah.
I like to travel.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I ask questions of things I like, and usually that develops some level of flow, and they get to share some things. I get to listen, right? And base off of what I'm hearing, you know, and if I don't understand something, I reiterate. So you mean this? So what I'm hearing is,
Yeah.
you know,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct me
Yeah.
if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
right? And so, and I always get this question, you guys, when when people are wanting to know if I'm dating, because they might be asking for a friend,
Yeah.
like, do you have a type, right? Like, and I'm so off the surface now. I used to be like, yeah, I used to have a type, but I got the type, and I'm in Louisville. No. My type is: do you love Jesus? Are you respectful? You know, do you have a sense of style and class about yourself?
Right.
Are you goal driven? Right. I need someone who is spontaneous, that
Yeah.
can get up and go, that likes to have a good time. Because even though I'm in ministry, I still like a balance of having a good time. I like good music. I like live music. I love to travel. And so I think that's important too.
And I know you're more of a mature woman in God too. For those who are, so you pretty much know what you want because you're mature.
Absolutely.
But for those who may not be at that point or may not have really sat down and thought about it, what's a good starting point for them to determine or come up with the list that they have?
Date yourself.
What does that mean?
Date yourself. Like, take everything that you expect them to do for you, do for yourself first.
Yeah.
Take yourself out to eat. Buy yourself flowers. Do stuff for yourself. Be spontaneous about the things that you want to receive, because can't nobody do for you what you have not done for yourself. Buy yourself a bag first and see and experience. I don't care if you buy it on credit, honey. Know what it's like to pay it off.
Yeah.
Okay? Do some things for yourself. Take yourself out to breakfast. Take yourself out to lunch. Take yourself to the movies. Take yourself on a vacation. Like, I discovered who I was when I did everything that I wanted my man to do for me by myself, for myself first. Because I wanted to know what it was like
That's good though.
to treat me well.
So what did you learn in those moments? What did you learn about yourself that's like, this is not how I thought it would be, or maybe like, dang, I really like this and I didn't think I would like it after doing it for myself. What are some things that you've learned, if any at all?
Yeah. Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I learned that I am very expensive. I was like, my God, I've been.
Man, well,
I
at least you know, though.
I know. I was like, man, I've been expecting a lot from these men. Like, golly, I've learned how to not be so aggressive in my needs. I'm like, yeah, you kind of needy. Okay, you might need to calm down. You might need to slow your roll.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, I kind of asked for a lot. Like, you know, goodness, that's I'm a whole bill, bill, honey. And so I learned that it's not about what a person does for you in the grand scheme of things, like how much they spend.
Yeah.
I've learned that the smaller things matter too. The fact that someone just thinks of you to spend their hard-earned money on you, or to spend time with you that they could have been doing something else with, that matters to me now. Because one thing the reason why I say date yourself is that it takes time and energy to plan. And so when you do it for yourself, you can really, really hone in on respecting the person that went and did all this behind your back to surprise you. So now I have a certain level of respect for a man who will go above and beyond to surprise me on a date, to take time to plan, schedule, arrange, and then have the audacity to come up and ask me. You know, it's like, this is a great man, Savannah. This is a great man. So yeah, I've learned to respect the small things and what it takes to get there. Because us as women, if you've never dated yourself and you so used to people doing things for you, you will never be able to respect, the time it took for a person to do that for you. Until you do it for yourself. Yeah, that's how I can truly honor. And I think that's where honor and respect comes in at, because you get to see the behind the scenes things when you begin to do some things for yourself.
Yeah. So are there some other things that in almost like looking in a mirror as a woman, are some other things you should kind of dig deep into to understand before you go choosing a partner, in addition to dating yourself?
I think community is important too,
Yeah.
right? Having other people around you that has the same center focus and desire of marriage as you do too. I think it's important to have married friends as well as single friends that will be able to pour into you, be able to share some experiences with you that you might not even be aware of.
Yeah, get both perspectives.
From different perspectives. And so when I decided I wanted marriage for real, I started hanging around that which I wanted, right? I always say, anything that I want, if I want to be a millionaire, I need to have millionaire friends. I need to be around them. If I am a person that is desiring to write a book, I need to hang around authors. So everything about my life that I wanted to be, that I wanted to do, I hung around it. I wanted to really learn what it was like to self-love outside of the beauty of the outside. Yeah. And so I started hanging around with people that were natural, right? That didn't wear makeup, that didn't, they were natural in hair, so that I could learn to appreciate beauty outside of the makeup or whatnot. So I think it's important to put yourself in spaces that you desire to be in and not be intimidated by it just because you don't have it yet.
Yeah.
So we're going to slight transition here. So being a woman is kind of like there's a clock, right?
No.
As a woman, having kids and stuff like that. I mean,
no,
there's not.
No,
I'm sorry. I'm misinformed. Forgive me.
No, and it's okay because now we're seeing, especially since about 2022, we're seeing more older women have children. We are.
I know that.
Yeah.
Okay, for the women, because it's been mainly women who've made mention to it or said in terms of the clock that there is. I guess for women who feel like there's a clock or a timeline to make things happen with relationship, having kids, starting a family, is there any tips or anything that you could provide that audience with to help them in that area?
Absolutely. There's a saying that if you ever wanted to make God laugh, tell him your plan. I'm telling you, you can have, when I tell y'all, I was so organized and so detailed down to the day that I was going to give birth, to the day I was going to have sex, to the day I was going to get married, what I was going to wear. And God has a unique way of interrupting all of that. I'm telling you, the best advice I can give to a person is take each day and live it like it's your last. Do not try to prepare for tomorrow. Yeah. The word is so clear. Tomorrow will take care of itself. I was say the Bible says that. If I was so caught up, y'all, in stuff that was supposed to happen 3 years from now, 5 years from now, that I could not enjoy the present day. Yeah. Because I was so worried about being prepared for my husband, being prepared for my job, being prepared for my friends, that I lacked preparedness for myself. Because I was so goal focused on, I gotta be ready for when he comes. Yeah. I gotta make sure I have everything in place when it's happening. Yeah. That I didn't even have an opportunity to really rest in the fact that I'm everything. There's some things that's great about me right now. In my immaturity, in my lack of knowing certain things, that there are some things that I am not taking advantage of right now. Right now. So I would tell them, listen, take today like it was your last day. If you have a desire to be married, honey, then walk like a wife, even if he's there or not. Prepare yourself today, but don't miss out on your singleness. Singleness is not a disease. Yeah. I don't know why people feel like singleness is like some type of disease and you need to be cured from it. And when you get married, all of a sudden the marriage is the antidote. Yeah. Right. There is a beautiful life in singleness that I don't care how old you are, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, that people do not really hone in on, because we have this societal expectation that you got to be married by a certain age, you got to have kids by a certain age, and if you don't, then something's wrong with you, or you risk your pregnancy, and maybe it's too late, but when we on God's side, we ain't waiting on God, we're waiting in Him, and that's the beauty of it.
So have you ever felt like the pressure from society or family or church regarding like your singleness? Like even people being like, when you gonna give me some grandkids, even if you like the only child, or have you ever felt that pressure? And have you ever dealt with it? That's pretty much
absolutely. I was a youth pastor for 6 years back in Detroit, and I'm telling you, everybody wanted to hook me up with somebody. I mean, I was like,
but honestly, that's a compliment, because they see you and they see your personality, they see how you are. Of course, my mama, if she saw somebody good, she would want to hook her son up with him. So that's a compliment to you.
And like you said, like it's cool because like walking like you walk like a woman who is married or who is in a relationship, and it's crazy that you can look at people and be like, they act like they're single, they act like they're married, they act like they want to be in, Facts. It's kind of crazy that you can see that just by the way a person carries himself. So like he said, I would, that's definitely a compliment.
I appreciate that, but even though I was walking like a wife, whoever they was hooking me up with was not
it.
They was looking at me like she can help him.
That's
she
what
gonna
they
get him to where he needs to be because she's got it. However, I dealt with that pressure when I was in ministry. I dealt with it at work. My mom, I am an only child. That's funny that you say that. And I do. My mom, even to this day, she's like, well, I guess, and I have a dog named Chloe. She's like, well, I guess my grandbaby is Chloe. This is the one thing I can, buy food for and hold and do this. And so, that pressure does come in. And even for myself, I desire to be a mom. I desire to be a wife. And sometimes I'm hard on myself because every now and then I just be like, okay, God, did I miss the mark? Did I spend too long with him? Am I being punished? And you know what? It is such a remarkable thing to have a relationship with God and Holy Spirit, because God will begin to speak some things to you to encourage you while you are waiting, where you will be like, oh my God, I am going way above myself, and it don't matter what people think or what type of expectations that people have over you. All that matters is what God says. And I lean into that. And anytime I get in the funk often, right? But I just allow God to minister to me. I don't allow people to do it because it's never sufficient enough. I feel like they always leave something out. And when I just sit alone with God and he begins to encourage me, it's good for me.
It's a blessing.
So how as being a single woman and you dating, if there's somebody like, I can see this going somewhere, how do you stay true to like your values and beliefs while dating in a world with different standards?
So the main important thing is about being truly authentic myself and not compromising, right? I set my standards at the very beginning. I'm not having sex until I get married. It's not. I'm not having sex when we get engaged. I'm not having sex. I'm not having sex until we get married, till we say I do together, right? I don't compromise. I don't spend a night at men's house, and I've traveled with friends, right? And we have been in two separate hotel rooms, right? And so I create boundaries and I stand on them, and I don't waver in them either. And so I don't even allow nobody to play or leave room for somebody to throw in a joke to see what I'm going to say.
Yeah, that's good.
It's a no.
Don't play with me.
It's a no. It's a no. And solely because I remember when I did compromise. And I remember when I did waver, and I remember when I did allow little jokes to kind of plant a seed of compromise in my mind, where I was like, I might can do that. And I know where that led me. And I just don't want to repeat. I lost everything, y'all. I mean, everything. And so when you lose everything only for God to give you another chance to get it all back, you won't allow anything to take away, to compromise and come in between that. You just won't.
Yeah, that's good.
You just won't.
That's good.
So at what point did you come to because I know, especially I can speak to myself, I haven't always put boundaries in place to make sure I don't make the mistakes that I made. It came through trial and error of like, all right, I'm learning now. Certain things I can't do, certain positions I can't put myself in because I'm cooked if I do.
Yeah.
At what point did you understand and realize like, all right, I got to start I gotta start setting some boundaries so that way, even if it's not so much as like a conversation, it's just like, nah, I'm not doing that, sir.
Like you just came to a point where you were just like, there's gonna be boundaries I'm gonna start setting for myself.
And what kind of message did that send to the person? And usually, what happens after you's like, no, not doing that.
Yeah. So I started creating boundaries. See, you can't create boundaries when you get with someone. You have to have them already set before you get there. And honestly, my move to Louisville created all kind of boundaries. I'm telling you, boundaries, hate, anger. You know, I was like, why am I in Louisville, Kentucky? Like, you literally snatched my job. I mean, when you experience stuff like that, you have all type of boundaries. You be like, oh, I'm never getting ready to do this again. Yeah. And so I created those boundaries within myself before I met the next person. Because first I had to believe it. Before I can expect you to believe it, I have to believe it. And I have to sit in that for myself. Like, what are some non-negotiables for yourself before you even get with him, so that you can be stern in that thing, so that you can be confident in it, right? And I think it's important that when you set boundaries, you know that this person is for you when they respect it, when they honor it, and also too when they like me too. It's nothing like somebody saying, I'm with you on that. I feel the same way too. Yeah. So therefore, it's not going to be hard. You guys can hold each other accountable to what you guys said, because at the beginning of the day, all you have is your word. Yeah, absolutely. And if I can't trust your word, I don't know if we can move past that.
Because that just eliminates a lot of conversations down the road where y'all didn't know about each other. Absolutely. You know, arguments and, you know, disagreements and stuff like that can possibly break up something that you thought was going to be beautiful, and then you're just like dang, now we're stuck in a road here, you know, and stuff like that. So that's great.
And I think that's part of why having a foundation in Jesus is very important, because if you, in my experience with the women I've dealt with who don't have it, and a lot of times, like you said, all we got is our word. So if I take you at your word, I'm gonna believe, what you're saying to me. Yeah. I'm gonna stand on it for you, because you said it. It came out your mouth. But a lot of people who may not have that foundation, or just ain't cut from the cloth like that, it leads to disappointment and a multitude of other things. But ultimately, you'll find your own self having to pick up the pieces of your heart, because hold up, you said this, and I'm believing it because it came out of your mouth. But now I'm stuck picking up the pieces because I held on to that, or I stood on that. So. It's important to have a foundation in Jesus, because you know the type of person you're dealing with, because Jesus is ultimately the one that kind of changes people, not people. So, but what role does faith play in maintaining a healthy relationship?
Everything. Faith takes a major role in maintaining a healthy relationship, solely because in order for a relationship to be healthy, you have to be able to identify what's unhealthy in it, right? Because we are two imperfect people coming together, not for perfection, but for the glory of God. Right. So faith plays a major role in it, solely because faith is the substance of things not seen. So I have to trust that even what it is that I can't see concerning you, or what it is that you might not be able to articulate, I have to trust God to intervene for that, right? To give me peace in your decisions. I think one of the hardest things women struggle with is submission, right? We do, seriously. And it's solely because there is a vision that God has for man that he has not given to woman. And it's hard for us to see it because we're detail-oriented people. We want to know who, what, when, where. How do we know this? Is because Eve was so curious, right? So curious. Oh, well, what is it going to do if I eat? Well, what's going to happen if I eat it? You know, we're detail-oriented people.
That's good.
And so when you don't provide the details to the woman, and the man is the only one with it, he still too needs time to understand, okay, God, now that I have the details, now I need the direction. Now I need the instructions. And so us as women have to lean into faith to say, whatever it is God has planned for my life, I know he'll never leave me nor forsake me. I know that all things work together for the good of those that love Christ. In this house, love Christ. My husband loves Christ. And I can only trust that even though I can't see it, I know God's working. I know God's working. So I feel like faith plays a major role in a healthy relationship, because I got to be able to trust what I can't see.
I want to hit on that for a little bit. To ultimately, even though you may not have all the details, how does trust play a part in trusting your husband or your significant other to have that, because ultimately that's kind of the hierarchy. It's God, men, in terms of marriage, God, the man, and then the woman. Not in terms of like levelness, just in terms of leadership. Because when you come to a, correct me if I'm wrong, when you guys come into an agreement, a man and a woman, the man's the head of the household. He dictates and determines the direction, but he gets his direction from God. So how, even in the detail, if you don't have necessarily the details of, okay, where are we going, what are we doing, blah, 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 how important is it, I guess, is it to trust that your partner has the vision from God so that you guys are going in the direction he wants you to go in as a family?
I think that's the importance of dating and building a rapport, right? Dating creates a space for you to be able to identify certain strengths and weaknesses, right? And I'm not saying that a man always have to have all of the answers, because I feel that a woman plays a leadership role in a relationship, and you guys will bounce off of one another depending on your areas of strength and weaknesses. I think once you guys have built that relationship and you guys know each other's strengths and weaknesses, that's what you can lean into. It's about getting to know the person.
Right.
And once you get to know a person's strengths and weaknesses, that's what you can lean into. It's impossible for me to date you today and be like, oh, he's going to be a great leader. No, I need to see some evidence. I need to see some proof. I need to spend some time with you. And there are certain things that you'll be able to identify to determine if someone is responsible, right? Like how long you been on your job, you know, or how long have you had the same telephone number, or how consistent. You can look at certain things and pay attention to certain people's consistency and see where they're at, to see if they are a person that moves around a lot, if they jump from here to here. And so there are just certain things that you could be able to identify that God would allow you to see, to be able to determine he's responsible. He a little shaky. He might not be planted in certain things. And then it's things that's important, right? If you can't pay your bills, I can't trust for you to pay mine or pay ours. You know, if you always in debt or you always need help, you might need to develop your financial status first before you get in a marriage, because that's essential, right?
Yeah. And that's like what I say all the time. I'm like, because people always ask, like, when are you going to marry your girlfriend? I'm like, you know, eventually, but I would like to get into my.
Y'all don't cut this ear on.
If I, I would like to get into my career first, so that I know that I can take care of her the way that she needs to be taken care of, or like when we have kids, take care of our kids when they get here.
Right.
You know, I don't want to just leap into something and then I'm not prepared to lead my household the way I'm supposed to, or lead my wife on the way I'm supposed to.
So what kind of advice would you give to, because let's say that there's a woman who knows that this is a man like I'm supposed to be with, right, but as a man, we look at things differently than as a woman. We see it as, like he just said, I got to be able to provide. So I'm not at that point. I'm not about to slap a ring on your finger. Yeah. And I can't do that for you yet. What kind of advice, or what would you say to, I guess, to there? Of course, there's a woman out there that probably believes that. What would you say to that woman?
To the woman who's with someone who might not be ready.
Who knows that's it, but he's just like, I'm not there financially to be able to make it happen right now.
Well, you have to give him grace, right? Until he's ready. You can't make nobody marry you. Right. And if you have to make somebody marry you, that probably isn't the person for you. So you have to give that person grace. I'll share this with you that 9 times out of 10, the woman is ready before the man. Yeah. Because that's how she was created to be. We're created for companionship. We're not created to be alone. Yeah. So we're already at the wedding, at dating. Yeah. We're already there. We know what colors we want to wear. And a lot of times we're really not asking you for your permission. We just need you to get on board. Yeah. And so also in knowing that, we have to give the man grace, because we're not proposing to you. Right? And you want to be in a relationship where the both of you are confident in it, right? Even if it's just moving from dating to a relationship, you want to be confident in your relationship with that person, no matter who it is, that we're on the same page. And that you don't feel like, oh, we've been dating for 3 months and we haven't moved in a relationship yet. Yeah, because there's something that I need to feel confident in it to move to the next level. And until I get that, I don't want to move ahead. And I think it saves you the heartache, them the heartache, because if you're not moving forward, it's something that you need from her or you to move forward and feel confident in it. You want to be confident in your relationship. Absolutely. I don't want to be with nobody that's not confident in it.
Yeah. So when is too long?
That's you. That's on you. I'm telling you, it's a case by case scenario, right? I can't say what's too long for somebody else because I don't know what they've been through.
So let me ask you this. So based on your dating experience or even in relationships, at what point did you realize, and if you could walk us through it, that he's like, this is something I got to walk away from.
Yeah.
Like this isn't going in the direction of marriage. So I got to cut it off.
Yeah. So I was dating somebody before I came to Christ Temple. And I decided that the relationship no longer served its purpose. And this is a person that was like, you're my wife. I mean, the first day that I saw him, he was like, you are my wife. I know you're my wife. You're getting ready to meet my family. I'm getting ready to meet your family. And there's no reason for us not to move forward. And you know what? I was on board. I was like, that's my type of talk.
Yeah.
I know we moving forward. However, the decision to not move forward was because one thing that I understood, even though he had a desire to get married and I had a desire to get married, we weren't compatible to get married to one another because I realized that I refused to lack certain things out of a relationship just so that I could say that I'm married.
Yeah.
I like to have fun. I like someone who has a sense of humor. He was very dull. He really didn't play too much. He was really aggressive. He was always serious. I said, this is not going to work for me. This is not going to work. I need somebody who smiles.
Somebody who smiles.
I need somebody who
goofy.
smiles. Yeah. I need someone who knows how to balance church and life because you can't have one without the other.
Right.
And he was just like, nope, if they're not saved, they're going to hell. I'm like, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work for me or for them because I hang around sinners.
Yeah.
I do, and I believe that that's important because Christ hung around sinners.
Yeah.
And I believe that sometimes your lifestyle will be the only Bible that they'll ever
That they
read.
have.
Right? I witnessed a young man following my lifestyle, never walked a foot inside of church. He gave his life to Christ over the phone with me and died the next day.
Wow.
Dang.
Right?
Wow.
Which for me was such an eye opener that it's not about my attendance at church. It's about my willingness to be wherever God wants me to be obedient, and no matter what, whether I'm in shorts, a dress, a skirt, a jogging suit, that I remain who I am in Christ and love God's people no matter where they're at. Where they're at. If you outside the club and I've caught your attention, and it may be an attraction at first.
Yeah,
because
it may be.
He said I'll cause because the light attract everybody.
Yeah, it will.
Flies, bees, or whatever.
Yeah.
It attracts everybody.
It does.
When you got light, honey, I'm telling you, fools, all kind of stuff. But the reality is what do you do when it comes your way?
Yeah.
What do you do when it comes your way?
Yeah.
And I had to work on that really hard because I was like, here I was immature when I was dating my ex-fiance, thinking like, oh, everybody just thinks I'm cute and everybody's attracted to me. I'm the it girl. And I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
You're nothing without God.
At
okay. And so God began to do a real work inside of me that just because people are attracted to you does not mean that every guy that likes you, every guy is not your husband.
Yeah.
It's not
And
your
you made a great point. It's not always you. If you got God, people inherently are they have a desire for spiritual things, and they're attracted to the God that's in you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now the surface level stuff may play a part sometimes, but it's like there's something about you that's a little different than everybody
Yeah,
else.
it's something that I hear all the time.
Yeah.
You know, there's something about you that you just stand out from everybody
And it's
else.
the God that's
the God
in
that's
you
in you.
that
Yeah.
people see and that they're attracted to. And to your point, that may be all the church some folk get.
That's it.
That may be all the church that you've ever heard in your life.
it.
And that plants a seed for you to start digging a little deeper
Mm-hmm.
into Jesus and who Jesus is. 'Cause it's like, hold up, I saw Shanika and she looked like me, but she talked a completely different talk.
way.
Well, she looked like JT or whoever, but hold up, she don't act like them. She's something a little bit different. So that's a valid point. How do you balance your desire for a relationship? How do you balance your desire for a relationship with the contentment you find in your current season of life?
How do I balance my desire for a relationship based on where I'm at right now with contentment, with being single? My desire for a relationship is not just because I want companionship with another man, right? My desire for a relationship is I've had an opportunity to consult God about my purpose for my marriage, right? And so I'm content in singleness is because I don't want anything that does not align with what God showed me. And so I'm okay with understanding that just like God had to do a work in me, I have to allow grace for God to do what needs to be done in him.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know where he's at, and I don't know what process he may need to go through to walk into oneness with God. And so, as my desire doesn't lose. I think God encourages me every single day concerning my husband, right? The prayers that he's praying, he encourages me how to still cover him even though I can't see him,
know it is yet,
right? Yeah. And so that's how I remain content in singleness, is still covering my husband even though I can't see him. Even though I'm not in front of him, I'm still covering his mind. I'm still covering his finances. I'm still covering his walk with God. I'm still covering his surroundings and the community in which he resides in. I'm covering his career goals, his creativity, his sleep, his stress levels. And I think in that's still preparing me, right? Because that's taking me to a whole nother realm. I said, I ain't never prayed for somebody I ain't seen before. I'm used to praying for people I can see. Yeah. But to pray for a man you've never even met, that's a whole nother type of faith.
Well, if you think about it, if you really think about it from God's perspective, it already exists. It's already a thing.
Right.
Because God he watches time pass.
Yeah.
So
Right.
to him, you're already with the man.
Exactly.
Y'all already together.
Exactly.
You already have the family.
Exactly.
So you covering him in prayer is almost as if you're doing it real time.
Right.
At the same time.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry.
That's good. No, that was good. They need to,
Because let's
preach that.
Yeah.
He said he watches it pass by.
Yeah. That's something we've talked about before. Praying about the person. Even you ain't seen them yet. You don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
But it's still good to pray for that person for when they do enter your life at that point in time. So that's good. That's really good.
So I want to transition to being equally yoked.
Okay.
All
right.
First of all, I personally believe, and then we'll transition out. Personally believe there are a multitude of things you could say, oh, we're not equally yoked. Not just spiritual.
Right. Yeah.
Because somebody could be in the church for 40 years, but they still drinking milk. Whereas I've been with God for 5 and I'm eating meat, and I'm growing in God to whereas spiritually you're still a baby, even though you've been walking with God older. Yeah. Whereas we're young, but we're at a completely different level. So what are some different examples or ways or different examples of being unequally yoked to you as a woman? Equally or unequally?
So one thing that I found out is because this is the first time in my life where I've had men approach me that was in the church. I've usually dated people that was outside of the church. Right. Can I be honest? I'm I just don't want the preacher. I don't want the deacon. I don't want
which
the
a lot of people don't.
And no, for no particular reason, right? I just was like, I just didn't think that they would be real enough or understand the balance. I just I don't want
because all they know is a lot of times when people they just know church.
But I'm the same way. It's like, I don't mind you being in church, but I didn't start out in church, and that's not my identity.
Yeah.
I want you to live a little bit of life and be able to relate outside of that. But go ahead.
So we can relate. On
stuff, So I was like, I don't even want them to be in the church. Matter of fact, I don't even want them to own the suit. If you got too many suits in your closet, and I love to get dressed, and they 3 pieces like you get ready to go to church, this ain't gonna work, because I'm gonna need to know you got some level of balance. But one thing that I did find out is that because as I was growing, I felt like being equally yoked mean that he had to pray when I pray and pray how I pray and do what I do, and that is so far from it. I believe that when you become equally yoked with somebody, it's not about what you do on the outside. It's not about what somebody does in church. It's not what somebody does behind closed doors. It's solely what God has aligned. And it's not pinpointed to a certain thing or a certain person, solely because I've seen God shift overnight. Yeah. And I've also watched myself, the stuff I was attracted to 4 years ago, I'm not even attracted to that anymore. And so I can't even go off of the stuff I like, because I gotta shift my whole desire. He'll shift my whole palette. You know what I'm saying? Stuff I used to like, I don't even like it no more. I find myself liking the most weirdest things now. I'd be like, what? The smallest stuff, I'd be like, he reads a book. That's nice. Yeah. He gets his nails done. Really nice. They're clean. Just the smallest things, attract me now. That lets me know that I'm mature. Like what you got on, honey, when you take that off, what does it look like? You know what I'm saying? And will I still like it? That equally yoke. It's literally a God's thing. I just want to be with who God has for me, and I believe that there are some things that won't come into true compatibility until we get married. because there are certain things about me and certain things about you that will change and evolve. And I think that's the favor of God that he talks about when a man finds a woman. He finds a good thing and then he obtains favor. And so it's a disservice for him to get it and I not get it too.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I just think it has to be God. It has to be God. And you have to have a level of discernment to be able to discern if it's God or not. God, is this I will end a relationship so quick.
Yeah.
I'll be like, this
Hey, what's
no
up?
longer
Yeah.
is going to start.
Yeah, this ain't gonna work.
This is going to, but you can catch me every Tuesday and Sunday at Christ Temple
At
if
Christ
you want a
Temple.
fellowship.
But
Absolutely.
that's
Not
honestly
getting
a
ready to go
good
out no more.
thing because our time on this earth is limited to get with somebody who's not helping push you, like, because ultimately when you guys get together, it should be all like not purpose driven, but you guys should be a compliment to one another.
Absolutely.
So if I'm with you and it's not that, then it's like
Like
you wasting time.
You're wasting
Yeah,
time.
pretty much.
You wasting time, and you holding up the person that's really is supposed to
Absolutely.
be. So it's like our time on this earth is already limited. And one thing that I've learned, again, I've been in the same boat. I dated women that's as far away from the church as possible. Don't want it if you're in the church.
Yeah.
I've learned that what's Jezebel, prime example. Every important or prominent man in the Bible, a woman has been his downfall. For a man. So what the enemy loves to do or wants to do is waste as much of your time as possible.
Absolutely.
Wait, because God counts down. He counts the clock down. We count up in the years, but God, before I formed you in the mother's womb, I knew you. So if he knew me before, I'm counting down the days once I send you to the earth.
Yeah.
Once I seen that spirit to the earth, all right, that spirit has to come back to me. The soul goes to the eternal place. That spirit got to come back. So I'm counting down the days, killer. Like, what you
Yeah.
doing?
What we doing?
So if the enemy can send somebody to you, it's like,
Yeah.
all right, we gonna waste a couple years here, and not only will you waste time, you will compromise your purpose. And I'm speaking this from experience because I've been with people, one specifically, to where I knew being with this person was going to cost me my purpose.
Yeah.
So the whole point being, it's good and important that when you get that revelation, just put it down and walk away.
Yeah.
It's not worth what God has for you. He literally says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you." But he says he thinks good things towards you. What we may think is good is not even close to what God thinks.
Yeah.
So why would I forfeit that just because I'm living in the moment with a man or a woman? But I digress. So
Yeah. No, that was good. That was good stuff.
I think if you want to transition, I don't know where we at on time. Okay. that moved quick though.
I
That
know
did go.
it.
That
I
did
thought
go
it was
by
like
real
10
quick.
minutes.
Yeah.
Damn, that moved real fast.
Yeah. But yeah, we were extremely grateful that we had Shanika on for the episode, and we definitely got to get her on again for another topic for sure. But again, we're super grateful. Thank you guys for joining us for episode 9 of Church Boys Podcast. Thank you for all the love and support we have been receiving.
So good.
Again, thank you, Shanika, for joining us, giving insight to the woman's mind today.
If you wanna,
No, you straight.
where people can find you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. So you can find me on Facebook, Lovely Shanika, Instagram, Lovely Shanika.
And we'll spell it for you.
Yeah,
as
we'll
well
put it.
on the
We'll put it
video.
on the screen for you.
Yes.
But again, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for tuning in, and you guys have a blessed week.
Thank you.